The train station was a blur of motion suitcases rolling, announcements echoing, the hiss of steam mixing with murmured goodbyes. Amid the crowd stood a girl in a faded denim jacket, her eyes fixed on the departure board that flickered like it couldn't make up its mind. Her hands trembled slightly, clutching a small red scarf, its ends frayed, one corner stained dark as if it had lived through too many winters. She didn't move when the train roared past, only blinked as the gust lifted her hair across her face. The world felt too loud, too fast, too unaware of the story that had just broken across every screen behind her. Father pleads guilty after hiring hitmen to kill wife and 6 kids. Someone's phone nearby played the news clip on full volume. The girl flinched at the sound of her father's voice, calm, measured, confessing like it was just another errand. "I didn't think it would go this far," he said. Her breath caught. She lowered the scarf, fingers tracing the rough edges of fabric her mother used to wear on cold mornings. It still smelled faintly of perfume, jasmine, and rain. She wanted to fold it away, but it felt like betrayal to hide something that carried her mother's warmth around her. Life moved with cruel indifference. A child laughed near a vending machine. A couple argued softly about the wrong platform. The girl's reflection in the glass door looked older than she remembered, eyes hollowed, jaw set, as if she'd aged years in hours. "Are you okay, miss?" a station guard asked, his voice hesitant. She nodded once, though the word okay felt like a language she no longer understood. Her suitcase sat by her feet, small, scratched, the zipper slightly broken. Inside was everything she owned: a few clothes, a letter she hadn't opened, and a cracked wristwatch her father gave her when she turned 12. The glass was spiderwebbed now, frozen at 3:17 a.m., the exact time the police said the call was made. She looked down at the watch. Its silence screamed louder than anything around her. The announcement board flickered again. Train to Silvervale, departing in 5 minutes. Her heart thudded. Silvervale, the town where the house once stood, where laughter echoed through hallways now sealed off by yellow tape. Her fingers tightened around the scarf. She didn't know if she was going back to remember or to confront. Maybe both. The wind shifted again, whispering through the station, carrying the faint scent of smoke and iron. She lifted her gaze, eyes steady for the first time that day. Somewhere far away, a train horn wailed, a sound like mourning, or a beginning. The train swayed gently as it pulled away from the city, lights outside melting into streaks of gold and gray. The girl Lena sat by the window, the red scarf draped loosely around her neck. It fluttered slightly with each breath she took, as if it were alive, restless, remembering. Across from her, a man in his 30s watched quietly over the rim of his coffee cup. He hadn't spoken since boarding. His coat was pressed, his gaze unreadable. Lena could feel it sometimes, his attention, though she never turned to meet it fully. The silence between them was heavy, deliberate, the kind that seems to listen. She pressed her fingers against the cracked watch resting in her palm. The minute hand was still frozen, mocking the idea of time itself. She remembered her father's words when he gave it to her. "You take care of time, and time takes care of you, sweetheart." He said it with that warm, practiced smile, the same one that now stared blankly from every news broadcast. The memory twisted in her chest like a dull knife. The rhythmic hum of the train lulled her into half-sleep, and with it came flashes of a life now gone. Her mother laughing in the kitchen, flour dusting her cheeks, the twins chasing each other through the hallway, her father sitting by the window, tapping that same watch against his knee as he waited for dinner. Ordinary sounds, ordinary love, and yet, behind it, something hollow she never noticed before, like a door slightly ajar in a quiet house. A station passed by. Outside, families waved, lovers clung to each other, promises floated in the cold air. Lena's reflection looked back at her, framed by the blur of their happiness. She wondered when her life had stopped belonging to moments like that. Her stomach tightened. She had less than $200 tucked inside her suitcase. No family left to call, just a destination, Silvervale, a reason she couldn't yet name. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the need to see where everything ended. The scarf slipped from her shoulder and fell to the floor. The man across from her bent to pick it up. For a brief second, their hands touched. His skin was cold. "You dropped this," he said softly. "Thanks." Her voice cracked, quieter than she meant it to. He nodded but didn't look away. "That color suits you." Lena forced a small smile. "It was my mother's." The man's eyes flickered, something unreadable passing through them. "It looks important." "It is," she whispered. He leaned back again, gaze shifting to the window, as if her words confirmed something he already suspected. The train slowed suddenly, the lights above dimming for a second. Lena's heart jumped. She clutched the watch, tight, eyes darting to the platform ahead. Silvervale. But she didn't move. Her breath caught halfway between fear and resolve. The man was still watching. "Are you getting off here?" he asked. She hesitated, fingers frozen on the handle of her suitcase. "Don't know yet." The train screeched softly as it pulled into Silvervale, brakes whining against steel. Outside, rain had begun to fall, first in hesitant drops, then in a steady curtain that blurred the station lights into trembling halos. Lena sat still, her fingers tracing the face of the cracked watch. 3:17 a.m. It never moved, but time around her refused to stop. The man across from her remained seated. He hadn't said another word since asking if she'd get off. His coat collar was damp now, his shoes scuffed and faded, the soles wearing thin, as if he'd been walking too long, too far. When he shifted, a wallet slipped slightly from his pocket, a corner of a photograph peeking out an image of a woman and a young boy. Their faces were worn from folding, the edges torn. Something inside Lena tightened. She wondered if they were waiting for him somewhere or if they were gone, like hers. Outside, thunder rumbled low, a tired sound that crawled across the sky. The air smelled of wet iron and electricity. She should have stood up, stepped out, walked toward the truth waiting in that rain-drenched town. But instead, she looked at him again. The stranger's gaze met hers, this time calm, but haunted. "You're not sure, are you?" he said quietly. She blinked. "About what?" "Going back, facing what's left." His words fell heavy, too precise. She looked away, pretending to adjust her scarf. "You don't know me." "No," he said, voice low, "but I know what it's like to lose something you thought was forever." The train lights flickered again, brief shadows slicing across his face. His jaw clenched, a muscle twitching near the temple. Beneath his calm tone lived something raw, something that had seen ruin. Lena felt a strange familiarity in that, like looking into a mirror that showed not her reflection, but her future. "You from around here?" she asked, needing the question to fill the space between them. "Used to be," he said, eyes fixed on the window. "Left a long time ago. Thought distance would make it easier." "Did it?" He smiled faintly. "No, it just makes the ghosts harder to see." The rain thickened, drumming against the glass like restless fingers. The platform outside blurred further, people hurrying beneath umbrellas, their shapes dissolving into gray. Lena's suitcase sat by her feet, waiting. The announcement for Silvervale echoed again, the conductor's voice soft but firm, final call for departure. Her heart pounded. She reached for the handle but froze when the man stood to. His presence felt both grounding and dangerous, like someone who could either save her or finish what fate started. He adjusted his collar, looked at her once more, eyes steady. "Sometimes," he said, "the only way out is through the fire." Lena's breath trembled. She rose slowly, the red scarf brushing against his sleeve. The train doors hissed open. Neither moved. Outside, lightning split the sky in two. Rain clung to the world like regret, soft and relentless. Silvervale Station glimmered beneath the downpour wet concrete, flickering bulbs, shadows moving without faces. Lena stepped onto the platform, the red scarf tight around her neck as if it alone kept her from unraveling. The stranger followed at a distance, his coat darkened by the storm. They didn't speak. The sound of rain filled the silence between them, that endless hum of things too heavy to say. Lena's shoes splashed through shallow puddles as she made her way toward the exit sign. Her heart felt like it was dragging something invisible behind it, weight made of memory. The watch hung from her fingers now, swinging slightly, its cracked glass catching flashes of lightning. She paused under the awning. Across the street stood a small bakery, closed and dark, the same one her mother used to bring them to every Sunday after church. The smell of rain on pavement brought the memory alive, her father laughing softly, pretending to steal bites from the twins' pastries. The warmth of that illusion hit her so hard she nearly doubled over. Her breath came ragged, the world blurred. For a second, she considered turning back, boarding another train, vanishing into some nameless city where nobody would know her story. But when she looked up, he was there again, standing a few feet away, silent as the storm. He reached into his pocket and held something out, her red scarf. "You dropped this," he said, voice low, almost gentle. She took it slowly, her fingers brushing his. "Seems like I keep losing it." He gave a faint smile. "Some people carry more than just bags," he said. "They carry silence, guilt, pieces of what could have been." The words hung in the air, fragile and sharp. Lena felt seen in a way that frightened her. She wanted to ask who he was, why he seemed to understand too much, but before she could, a woman passing by muttered under her breath, "Poor girl, that's the one from the news." Lena stiffened. The stranger's expression darkened. Eyes turned briefly toward her, some curious, others pitying, a few quietly cruel. She pulled the scarf higher, trying to disappear into its crimson folds. "I should go," she whispered. He stepped closer, rain glistening on his face. "You could, but walking away doesn't end it." Her throat tightened, and staying does. His silence was answer enough. Lightning flared again, washing everything white for a heartbeat. She saw him, then really saw him, the tired eyes, the faint scar near his temple, the grief etched deep into his features. Something inside her cracked. She turned sharply, taking a few unsteady steps away, then stopped. The scarf slipped from her shoulder, landing between them, red against the gray pavement. Neither moved to pick it up. The storm swallowed their words, leaving only the hum of trains and the ache of almost. The storm eased into a whisper by dawn, leaving Silvervale washed clean but hollow. Mist coiled around the street lamps like smoke from an old fire. Lena walked slowly through the empty streets, the red scarf now damp and clinging to her shoulders. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her father's face on the television.com, and unbothered, confessing like it meant nothing. The stranger's words from the night before echoed faintly. Some people carry more than just bags. They carry silence. She didn't know why they stung so much, or why his presence still lingered in her chest like a bruise that wouldn't fade. By noon, she found herself standing outside a modest building at the edge of town, a law office with a flickering sign, Holloway and Carter, Estate Management. It was where she'd sent a desperate application weeks ago, before the world collapsed. She didn't expect an answer, but a single email had come that morning. Position open. Interview at 2 p.m. Ask for Mr. Holloway. She clutched her small suitcase tighter and pushed the door open. Inside, the smell of paper and rain-soaked wood filled the air. A receptionist led her through a narrow corridor lined with old photographs, families, houses, a few faces she half recognized from the news. Then she froze. On the final frame near the office door was a photograph of a man, a woman, and a little girl with a red scarf wrapped around her neck. The man was the stranger from the train. Her heart stumbled before she could speak. The door opened. He stood there, dry now, coat neatly hung, his eyes calm, as if he'd been waiting. "Lena," he said softly, "you made it." The world tilted. "Who, Mr. Holloway?" He nodded once. "I thought you might not come." She took a step back, breath shallow. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have walked with me if I had?" he asked gently. Her pulse pounded in her ears. On his desk sat a cracked wristwatch, her watch's twin, the same model, same fracture across the glass. Her voice trembled. "That's my daughter's," he finished quietly. "She died 2 years ago. Car accident. She was wearing that when they found her. I never fixed it." Time stopped at 3:17. Lena froze. Her watch, 3:17 a.m. The words from her father echoed like a cruel echo. "You take care of time, and time takes care of you." She felt everything collapse inward. The coincidences weren't coincidences. "Why me?" she whispered. Holloway looked at her for a long, unreadable moment. "Because," he said, "some truths need to meet each other before they break." Her hand tightened around the doorknob. Her next step, inside or out, would change everything. And for the first time, Lena didn't know which choice was survival. The office was too quiet. Outside, the rain had stopped, but its ghost still clung to the windows in trembling beads. Lena stood frozen by the door, her reflection layered over his in the glass, two broken outlines, facing a truth neither had expected to meet. Mr. Holloway or the stranger moved first. He picked up. "When they found her," he said quietly, "she was wearing this. I used to think if I could understand why time stopped, then I'd understand why everything else did too." Lena's throat tightened. "And now you think I'm supposed to fix that?" His gaze met hers. "You can't fix what's dead, but you can face what's still living." Something in his voice cracked, not anger, but ache. He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the exhaustion beneath his calm. "Your father hired someone I once knew," he said, each word deliberate. "A man I helped years ago. I thought he'd changed. I was wrong. The moment I saw your name in the application, I realized how tangled the world had become." Lena felt her knees weaken. "So this wasn't chance?" "No." He paused, then added softly, "But neither was what you showed me on that train." the way you looked at the world as if it still owed you something gentle. She shook her head, backing away. You followed me, offered me a job, out of pity, guilt. He looked down at the red scarf draped over his chair. Because you reminded me of her, of the way she'd sit on trains and stare at strangers like they were stories waiting to be read. Her heart clenched. For a moment, she wanted to scream, to throw the cracked watch against the wall, to make the world explain itself, but she didn't. Instead, she walked to the desk and placed her own broken watch beside his. Two faces, both stopped at 3:17. Catching the faint afternoon light. Maybe time didn't stop for her, Lena whispered. Maybe it stopped for you. He flinched. The air between them was raw, stripped bare of all pretenses. After a long silence, he slid the red scarf toward her. Take it. You'll need it more than I will. She shook her head. No, you keep it. You've been carrying her ghost long enough. Let her rest. Holloway's eyes softened, grief melting into something almost like peace. He folded the scarf carefully and set it inside a drawer. The sound of it closing felt final, like a door sealing shut on the past. When Lena stepped outside, the world was brighter. The same train station that once carried her away now waited before her, quiet, washed in morning light. People moved in gentle rhythm, laughter, footsteps, life continuing. She glanced once through the glass of the office behind her. Holloway stood by the window, watching, but didn't move. She lifted her hand slightly, not a wave, just acknowledgement. Then she turned toward the platform, suitcase in hand, wind brushing her face. Her reflection in the glass doors looked steadier this time, less haunted. As the next train approached, she whispered to herself, not every stranger you help is meant to stay, but some leave you changed forever. And when the doors opened, she stepped inside without looking back. The sun rose slowly over Vale, pale and uncertain, like a world relearning how to breathe. Lena walked down the quiet street, her shoes tapping lightly against the damp pavement. The air was cool, washed clean by the storm. The scent of rain lingered, mixed with the faint sweetness of blooming jasmine, the same perfume her mother once wore, in her hand. She carried nothing now, no suitcase, no scarf, just the cracked watch she had taken from the desk before leaving. It no longer felt heavy. The silence it held had changed. It was no longer a reminder of where time stopped, but where it began again. She passed the bakery window, empty chairs, sunlight pooling across the floor. She paused for a moment, her reflection framed by glass and memory. The girl who had once stood trembling in a crowded station felt like someone else, now a version of herself, still trapped in grief's echo. This one walked differently, shoulders lifted, gaze steady. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message blinked on the screen. No name, just a number. Sometimes love is not romance, it's recognition. She read it twice, her lips parting slightly in quiet understanding. She didn't know if it was from Holloway, or if it was something she had once said aloud and forgotten. Either way, it didn't matter. The words felt true. Lena walked on, toward the small park where she used to play with her siblings. The swings were rusted now, the grass uneven, but the air there felt gentler somehow. She sat on the old bench beneath the willow tree and opened her palm. The cracked watch gleamed faintly in the sun. She didn't wind it, she just set it beside her, letting the light touch its fractured glass. Somewhere, in another office across town, another watch rested quietly beside a folded red scarf, two stories intertwined by time and loss, both finally at peace. A breeze swept through, carrying the whisper of passing trains. Lena closed her eyes and smiled, just a little. For once, the sound didn't make her flinch. She didn't know where she'd go next. Maybe she'd leave, maybe she'd stay. But wherever she went, she knew she wouldn't be running anymore. She rose, the wind tugging softly at her hair, sunlight warming her face. The world was still broken, still imperfect, but it no longer felt like punishment. Because sometimes, survival itself is the quietest kind of revenge. And sometimes, the people who hurt you don't vanish when time stops. They fade when you learn to move again. She took one last look at the empty swing set and whispered to the wind. Some stories don't end where the pain begins, they end where we choose to keep walking.